The Board of Zoning Appeals for the City of Bloomington for May the 26th,
Recording
2020.
in progress.
Roll call, please.
Ballard.
Here.
Burrell.
Here.
Coyne.
Here.
Clever.
Here.
Throckmorton.
Okay. We have a set of meeting notes, meeting minutes to approve for February the 17th, 2020. I do have one correction to them. For KCU-24-21 WS Property Group, that first case, the vote was 3-2 rather than 5-0. Anybody else have any amendments to those meeting notes? No? Then I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the minutes of February 17th, 2022.
I'll second that.
So I'm going to jump in. Can we clarify that that's as amended?
As amended, thank you.
As amended, please.
Okay, vote please.
Burrell.
Yes.
Ballard.
Yes.
Coyne.
Yes.
Clever.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Do we have reports, resolutions, and communications this evening?
We do not.
Okay, thanks. This is a hybrid meeting, so we have one BZA board member who's actually on Zoom with us this evening. So I just wanted to make everyone here aware of that. The petitions to be continued to the June the 23rd meeting, 2022, is one, AA-17-22, Joe Kemp Construction, LLC, and Blackwell Construction, Inc. This evening on the docket, here are the petitions. V-04-22, Southern Indiana Medical Park. V-09-22, Patrick and Rachel McAleer. V-12-22, the City of Bloomington Redevelopment Commission. V-14-22, Chris and Betsy Smith. And V-16-22, Aspen Heights Partners. We are ready for the first case. Can we please have the staff report? Whenever you're ready.
Okay, so this petition is for the Southern Indiana Medical Park located at...
Could you speak into the mic a little bit closer, please? It's hard to hear.
Okay, is that good? Okay, this petition is for the Southern Indiana Medical Park. It's located at 2810 South Deborah Drive in the southeast corner of I-69 and Tap Road. The total approximate area of the medical park is 20 acres. The parcels are zoned mixed-use employment, and it's bounded by I-69 on the west side, vacant land on the south and east sides, and an automotive repair shop on the north side. So the petitioner is requesting a variance from sign regulation development standards. One request is to allow the installation of one freestanding sign in front of the Southern Indiana Medical Park. The other request is to allow the installation of 3 wayfinding signs within the medical park. The petitioner is proposing to install one large freestanding sign at the southwest corner of Deborah Drive and Tap Road. It's shown as sign 1 on this map, and 3 freestanding wayfinding signs within the medical park, and those are shown as sign 3, sign 8, and sign 12 on the map. So the UDO defines multi-tenant center as a group of separate buildings within or with multiple tenants operating under a common name or management, a single building containing multiple uses where there are specific exterior entranceways for individual uses, or a group of uses on separate but adjoining properties that request treatment as a multi-use complex. The UDO states that freestanding signs for multi-tenant non-residential centers with at least 50,000 square feet of gross floor area shall not exceed 125 square feet and shall have a maximum height of 15 feet. The UDO also states that lots with more than 30 feet and less than 500 feet of frontage on a public street are permitted one freestanding sign, and lots with 500 feet or more of public street frontage shall be permitted one freestanding sign for each 250 feet of public street frontage. So the medical park meets the definition of a multi-tenant center as a group of uses on separate but adjoining properties that request treatment as a multi-use complex. The medical park previously had a large freestanding sign at the front of the complex, but it was removed with the development of I-69. The proposed large freestanding sign is 122 square feet, so the size meets the maximum. However, per code, the square footage of the buildings on the outlots that have their own freestanding signs cannot be counted toward the total for the multi-tenant center sign. So the outlots in this development each have existing freestanding signs that meet their maximum allowance of number of freestanding signs per lot frontage facing a public street, but cannot be counted toward the square footage for the multi-tenant center sign. Additional freestanding wayfinding signs would not comply with the UDO requirements. The petitioners are requesting a variance from the standard in the UDO that states only outlots that are not counted toward center square footages shall be permitted freestanding signage based on individual non-residential uses, such that the medical park can reinstall one large freestanding sign at the front of the complex and maintain the existing individual freestanding signs on the outlots. In addition to the large freestanding sign, the petitioners are requesting a variance from the maximum square footage requirements for individual non-residential uses to add 3 freestanding wayfinding signs within the medical park. And that is to direct traffic to the appropriate building within the complex. So on the screen, you can see one of the proposed wayfinding signs, and the next 2 slides show the other 2 wayfinding signs. So for the first part of the criteria, the approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. Staff found that for the center sign, no injury is found with the allowance of a freestanding sign. The sign will meet setback and dimensional standards for this type of sign and is also replacing a previous sign for this complex. And no injury is found with the allowance of wayfinding signs. For part 2 of the criteria, staff found that the center sign has no adverse impacts to the use and value of the surrounding area associated with the proposed variance. The variance is not expected to have off-site negative consequences and is replacing a previously existing sign for this complex. For the wayfinding signs, there are no adverse impacts to the use and value of the surrounding area associated with the proposed variance either. The signs would be in the complex only. And for the last part of the criteria, there are practical difficulties in the use of the property for the center sign. So the medical park contains 8 buildings over almost 20 acres of developed land, and identification of the medical park entrance and what it contains is necessary for employees and clients to access the medical park. Many of the buildings cannot be seen from the main entrance on Tap Road. While each property has its own identifying sign on site, it is common for large complexes that function as one, as is the case here, to have a multi-tenant center sign at the main entrance. This particular center has the peculiar condition of being quite spread out with a 60-foot drop from Tap Road to the rear of the developed area, which contributes to it being difficult to see what is at the site in addition to the size of the development. Allowing an identifying sign up front along with signs at each location is appropriate for the development with these characteristics. For the wayfinding signs, staff did not find practical difficulties in the use of the property that would be relieved with allowance, with a variance to allow 3 freestanding wayfinding signs. If the other proposed variance is approved, each site will have identification at the entrance to the center, as well as on site. The roadways in the development have names, so each location has a very specifically identifiable location, and wayfinding signs are not necessary or allowed. So based upon the written report and findings, the department recommends that the Board of Zoning Appeals adopts the proposed findings and approves V-04-22 to install 1 freestanding sign in front of the Southern Indiana Medical Park, but denies a variance to install 3 wayfinding signs within the medical park with the following conditions. Just one condition, a sign permit is required for the new freestanding sign.
Thank you, Karina. Can the petitioner please step to the podium? If you could please let us know your name, and then I'll swear you in.
Good evening. My name is Doug Staley with Staley Signs.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
You have up to 20 minutes to present your petition.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The staff report was very thorough, so I'll try to just touch on a few key items. And Karina, if you can, is it okay if I tell you what slides to pull up on there? So on that page 6 is the slide of the large sign. Thanks. So the large sign is the one that staff is recommending approval for, or has a positive recommendation for, and that one would be at the corner of Tapp and Deborah. And obviously what we're trying to do here is identify the medical park itself and a majority of tenants within. I think it's probably impossible to get everybody identified, but you can see that we're drawing attention to the IU's various services, the medical office building, and then several of the tenants that have 2 to 1 acre lots. Once you pull into the park, the road, I believe that's Deborah, kind of wise off at Coda. And so if you could go to the next slide, I think so this is one of the what we're calling wayfinding signs, and staff is not recommending positive consideration on these. This is really like very much similar to a hospital campus, right? We acknowledge that it's not a hospital campus, but it is a medical campus. So you've got patients coming, many first-time patients, you have elderly patients, you have young parents with kids screaming, you have people that are nervous about what they might be going to the doctor for. And we find in many hospital campuses, medical campuses like this, there's just a lot going through the mind of the average patient and visitor. And although addresses are great, it is very good to have visual cues as well to help get people going in the right direction. We're not just trying to find another place to put an IU logo. You can see that the sign itself, the sign cabinet is only 36 inches by 6 feet wide. So this is a small, very tasteful sign. We're just trying to get people, reassure them that they're heading in the right direction. So this one, again, is at the corner of Deborah and Coda. Then, if we could go to the next slide, we have one at McIntyre. We have a proposed sign at McIntyre and Coda. And again, now we're shooting people in several different directions. We've got folks turning south on McIntyre. We also have people continuing west on Coda. So we're trying to, again, get folks going in the right direction. I would like to note, and I didn't get a picture to Karina in time, but there is an existing legal non-conforming sign at that location. And I'll have her go back to the map here in a minute, but at sign location number 8, there is, which is this one, there is a sign existing. And I think the client would be inclined to leave that existing sign if these don't get approved. They don't really match. They're green background. They blend in with the environment, and they're not consistent with what we're trying to achieve here. A lot of thought went into the design and consistency. We are using brick masonry bases, which is not cheap. So again, the client is spending a good amount of money to have this consistent look. And then the last one, if you would go to the next slide, is the sign that's kind of just north of the medical office building. And right now there is another little sign that kind of identifies it as a medical office building. Again, we want to bring in the same style and just have room to identify 8 of the largest square footage tenant holders in that. They might not all be used, but if there was a dentist and a couple different doctors, they would have the option to get some identification. But quite honestly, just labeling that as the medical office building. As you go south on McIntyre, and staff even alluded to this, there's a significant grade change from TAP all the way down to where the medical office building is. So again, as folks are coming down that, we want them to be able to see this building and realize, okay, I'm here, I'm at the medical office building. The parking for the medical office building is just beyond that sign, just on the other side of the building. So again, we're trying to pull patients in the right direction. So with these wayfinding signs, we feel like the practical difficulty is safely, efficiently, effectively getting patients where they need to be on a large campus. And staff even reported how big this property is. We don't deny that the outlots have their own signage, but again, these signs are not located in close proximity to the other outlots. We're just trying to get people moving in the right direction where there is no other signage, or there was existing signage that served the same purpose. So Karina, if we could just go back to that map, which I believe is page 5 of your slide. So again, just an overview, sign 1, the large one, at the north end of the property along TAP. And then as you come in, sign number 3 is where Coda splits off from Deborah. And again, that's just trying to usher people to the west. Sign number 8 is a directional sign that's kind of pointing people south and west. And then sign number 12 is the medical office building sign. So I think that covers the key points. I'd be happy to address any questions
Thank you. So we are to the board for questions of the petitioner or staff. Would anybody like to begin?
My question is for staff. Is this sign non-compliant because of size or because there's no, why is it non-compliant and why is it you're not approving? I guess that's my question.
The large sign would be compliant. It meets, it's 122 square feet, so it's below the 125 maximum. But the 3 wayfinding signs would not be would not meet code because those interior lots already have their own signage.
Yeah, sorry, I'll add to that. Jackie Scanlon, Development Services Manager. The options for multi-tenant center really are one big sign at the front. So if you think of a more traditional multi-tenant center, like with a long building and a bunch of tenants in it, and they might have a sign out by the road, and then once you drive in, you can see them all and go to the one you want. Or in a multi-tenant center like this, where they're on separate properties, each property can have its own sign. So at this multi-tenant center, each property already has its own sign on a public road. They're asking for a variance to also have the large sign out front. So the reason they need the variance for the sign out front is because they already have individual identification signs on each property, and code is like an either-or situation. The wayfinding signs, that's just an additional signage that just isn't, it's just not allowed. It's off-premise signage. So if you have a sign out near tap that isn't the sign that's identifying the center, and then it has business names on it that aren't on the parcel that it's on, that's off-premise, and code doesn't allow that. So the wayfinding signs are just extra that they're asking for. The large sign requires the variance as well because they have already, each individual parcel has its own identifying sign for the business located on it. Does that answer your question?
So does a medical park, does that have different standards in terms of, when you go to a hospital, of course, or Methodist hospital, for example, there are signs everywhere, directing you, because it is confusing. Does this development, is that a similar development
We do not.
than a hospital? Or is it because it's multi-tenanted?
Yeah, in Bloomington, we do not have a separate code for a medical multi-tenant center. It's
Okay.
just the same as a multi-tenant center.
Okay, thank you.
I'm just gonna,
This
yeah.
is
Quick
Eric.
question for
I have
the
a quick
petitioner.
question. Jackie, you mentioned there were signs already existing. Is that like the sign on the building? Or are these, like, there's already signs at these corners? Or what are the signs that are existing? Thank you.
Sure, Eric. So each business that is located on a separate lot in this center has a sign for the business on the lot, just like other businesses in town, the sign indicating what is located in that building. These buildings all already have that. As Mr. Staley mentioned, there are also existing non-conforming, I don't think we have confirmed that they're legal non-conforming, but non-conforming wayfaring signs that we have not, said need to come down or anything. Those, as far as right now, could stay up. That is not an enforcement issue we've, looked into. But so the existing signs in the complex right now are the signs that identify each particular building on their own lot, and then some kind of older wayfaring signs that were put in at some point.
Could you just talk a little bit about the history of this property? Because it was a PUD and it recently underwent a change of zoning, and that's
Sure.
why it had wayfinding signage to
Yes,
begin with,
thank
right?
you. So the property was zoned PUD. I'm not positive, but it's possible that a lot of times in a PUD situation, we would have a sign package that would maybe not match the zoning code at that time if they felt they needed extra signage. So I do think that is how this location had signs on each property as well as the sign on tap initially. And, as Ms. Pazzo said, I mean, we do think it's appropriate to allow them to put in another sign on tap because it is spread out and lower, which was allowed, I believe, by the PUD at that time as well. The property was rezoned when we did the citywide rezone. Was that last year now? Yeah. So it was rezoned to a district at that time. I could double check. I believe we may have been talking about a PUD amendment for the wayfaring signs initially. I'm not sure that those were actually something they could have even done under the PUD. We've been talking to Mr. Staley for some time now about trying to get this figured out. And I think even when it was a PUD, there were going to be some approvals that needed to be done. It wasn't something that could be done through that PUD the way that it was written at that time.
So our current UDO does not have a provision for wayfinding signs in any situation at this point?
Not off-premise wayfinding. So, there are a lot of rules that, there was a Supreme Court decision in 2015, and there are a lot of things we can't regulate with signage. And so we don't particularly regulate the content, right? So we can't say wayfinding or that's not how they're described in code. But we can, right, Mike can correct me if I'm wrong, at this time, regulate off-premise. So if you have a sign that's advertising a business that isn't on that property, that's off-premise, and the code does not allow that.
Okay. Any further questions?
Yeah, I just want to clarify for the petitioner. So the rationale behind this really is the fact that this is a medical facility. It's 24 acres. That people, as soon as you pull in, I've been there for appointments. You pull in, you've got a lot going through your mind, and this is just to kind of help put that any patient, I don't care, what it is for, across the board, putting their mind more at ease, so there's perfect clarity to know exactly where you're going, whether it's for a checkup or whether it's something much more serious, that kind of thing. Is that kind of where the rationale is behind you guys wanting to put these the way you want to put them up?
Yes, exactly. Again, it's trying to get people moving in the right direction. And we just see in the sign industry that the more touch points you can give, again, I know this doesn't specifically apply to Bloomington, but I will say that other communities don't have separate ordinances for hospital and medical campuses either. So you guys are right in line with everybody else. And I am constantly getting variances within medical campuses and hospital campuses for this type of stuff because wayfinding is just such a critical part of getting patients where they need to be. So, again, we're not trying to just market IU Health in more places. We're trying to get people moving to the correct building.
Are you aware of specific feedback from the tenants or other occupants of the buildings that there is an issue with people not finding their way easily to their locations?
I would assume yes, because there's not a medical campus that I haven't worked on where nurses aren't fielding calls saying, I can't find, where do I go? I'm at this building. But I might ask Anne Marie if she has any specific instances of hearing about patients being lost. Can you corroborate that?
If you could step to the podium, please, and introduce yourself, and then I'll swear you in.
Hi, I'm Anne Marie Bowling with IU Health.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thanks. If you could answer the question, that would be
Would you
great.
mind repeating it again, please? Repeat your
You
question.
could speak a little bit closer to them.
Can you repeat your question again, please?
I was just curious if you've gotten feedback from the people who work in these buildings that it is difficult to find, that they regularly have problems with people, finding their way to their appointments and such.
No, I don't have specific feedback on that. I can say from a personal perspective, when I first started working for IU Health and trying to find all of our different locations, I've had challenges with particularly this location because you're driving, and you're like, where's the entrance to the building? And it's all the way at the end of the parking, at the end of the lane, the building, front of the building, and it's actually at the very end of that drive. And I would also say that this has the support of other tenants within the office park because we're all contributing to the funding of the various signs.
So it's a recognized need.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? Eric? We don't have a visual of him.
Just a second.
No, I'm here. No, I'm okay, thanks.
Okay.
Ms. Clapper, can I make one comment? I think it was a good question, like, for example, about Methodist Hospital. That's a great question. I think we said this a little bit in the report, but one difference here is that these are roads. These are publicly maintained roads, right? So you're not like driving into even the IU Health, our new IU Health, where you drive into the facility. There aren't roads. There's no markings. You're like, am I going into this parking lot or that one, this building or that? These are city-maintained public roads,
Right.
you know. So we do think that that's a little bit different, you know, businesses of all kinds, ones that help people, you know, medical and other kinds. We want to help them be successful, but we have those businesses all over town who would love to have, you know, identifications on the major roads saying, hey, you know, turn here, we're 2 blocks away. That is, that's just something that the code doesn't allow. So we are trying to be more consistent, you know, and saying that this isn't a kind of center where there aren't other ways to figure out where you're going. You know, putting in the address, it's a real address on an actual road, not just kind of like there's 10 addresses in this, on this one, you know, piece of land. So we think that that's helpful. They all each have their own sign. You know, if you type in an address on CODA into your GPS or your GPS, it's going to take you right there. So we do think that that makes it a little bit different than some of the other like larger medical campuses where it's just a campus and they don't have, you know, those types of built-in wayfaring that these do because these roads are public. So I just want to add that because that came up. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So we are then, if there are no further questions, then we are back to the petitioner. If there's anything further you'd like to add at this time, this would be the opportunity.
Yes, thank you. Just a rebuttal to the street comment. Again, absolutely correct. We acknowledge that those are public streets, but you're coming down into this kind of low-lying area that feels like you're in its own little world. I don't think you'd be setting a dangerous precedent all over town because, you know, we're not lining these signs up along Tap. They're down in the campus, and really the only people down in that Southern Indiana Medical Park are people that have a reason to be down there, right? So we're not trying to pull patients off of the street. We're just trying to get them where they need to go. You know, and again, consistency, high quality materials and design. Thank you.
Just a final question. So are any of those signs going to substitute any existing signs or?
Yes, so specifically the sign number, what we have numbered 8, that will replace a green kind of directional tenant sign. I actually have a hard copy of it. I don't know if it's appropriate for me to hand that to you, but I do have a hard copy.
That wasn't in the packet.
Can he distribute a hard copy since one of the board members is not present?
Oh, could you put it on the screen, maybe?
Yeah. Would I just need to project it?
Yeah, I think.
Okay, I can take that.
Yes, I think distribute a hard copy and staff.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I just want your to be able to see it.
She's going to project it.
So, and again, this sign that you're about ready to see, that's the sign number 8, is existing. And when we started digging into this several years ago, I believe that it was part of the PUD sign plan. So the number 8, so that one, that number 8 will be replaced with the proposed number 8. And then on number 12, there's a small, and I'm not talking about the leasing sign, but there's also a small green one that indicates that it's the medical office building. So if you approve our number 12, we will remove that green one there as well. The sign number 3, that's at the Y at Deborah and Coda, there is nothing there. So that is a new proposed location.
Thank you. Okay, so we are back to the board for action, and I'm going to ask for a motion, and then we can discuss. So if somebody would like to make a motion.
This is Eric. I would, I'm not sure how to frame this motion, but I would approve all the signs. So I would have a motion that approves all the signs. And then we can discuss why that is here in a minute. But so whatever that hybrid motion is, what would be the language on that? I move to approve the recommendation on the big sign and deny or oppose the recommendation on the smaller signs.
Yeah, I think you could say, you can correct me if this is wrong, but move to approve V0422 for both the large sign on tap as well as the 3 wayfinding signs within the park.
Correct.
Okay, great. So then we would need a second.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we need to discuss, and we need to find some alternative findings, particularly for the third criteria of practical difficulties. We need to define what the practical difficulties are, and I think we could probably do this. If everybody feels confident, we could just do this now and replace those findings with our new findings. So Eric, do you have anything in mind since you made the?
I'm sorry, Ms. Clapper. We didn't ask for public comment, I don't think, on this
Oh,
one.
shoot, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
So do we withdraw? Do we withdraw? Just
I can
please,
withdraw
give
mine.
us,
I'll withdraw.
Eric, hang on for 1 second. We have a procedural issue.
It's okay to postpone the motion. You can leave the motion on the table and ask for public comment. That's
Okay,
fine.
okay. So my apologies. We're going to postpone that motion, and we're going to turn to the public. Is there anybody here this evening who would like to speak to this petition? Oh, the petitioner's already spoken?
Correct, she cannot speak at
You
public comment.
cannot speak as a member of the public. Is there anybody else who would like to speak? If you could just please state your name.
My name is Ross Goyer.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, you've up to 5 minutes.
Thank you. I am here representing the ownership of 2920 South McIntyre Drive, the multi-tenant medical office building. I did want to add a little more confirmation to your question in particular. As property managers for the building, we do a tenant survey every year, a verbal tenant survey where we meet with each of the tenants. And one of the more consistent issues that we have is wayfinding within the park, back to that building. As Anne Marie stated, the entrance is actually on the south side of the building, so and there's pine trees along the front corner, so until you're almost past the building, you don't really see where you're going. It is a very difficult building to find. And as Doug stated, being a medical park, the vast majority of the folks that come into that park are not at their best, let's say, from a driving standpoint. Either they're dealing with a health issue, they have someone in the car that's dealing with a health issue, or they're elderly folks. And so we believe that it's a safety issue as well as just a wayfinding issue for us to be able to help get folks to those places as efficiently as possible. And although I don't represent that building directly, there is a surgery center in that complex as well that is currently under expansion. They're doubling their capacity at that surgery center. So we will have even more patients and their families in that park in the coming months. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to this petition? Okay, so seeing nobody further, we are back to the board to continue the motion. We are at the point of crafting alternative findings. So Eric, you were going to start.
Yeah, I think it's It's peculiar to the property in question. It is difficult to find your way around there, and given the nature of what it's as a medical park, they're not advertising for commercial purposes. They're advertising, if you even call it that, to get people where they need to go for medical appointments. And I think there's a different interest involved, than what we have with the strip mall signage, if you will. So, I think it's peculiar to this particular property, and not just the layout of the property, but also the type of use within that property.
I'm having a little trouble hearing him, I'm sorry.
I think I got it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I would say the medical nature of the development,
The topography.
the topography, so the practical difficulties specifically are the medical nature of the development. The amount of topography, and I would add the overall layout and number of dead ends, because if you take a wrong turn, you're going to end up nowhere. That creates some disorientation, a sense of disorientation.
Okay, so I'm going to say practical difficulty is found in the use of the site because it is designed as a medical center. It has issues based on topography and its large size, as well as its layout and number of dead ends that necessitate a variance from sign standards to allow additional wayfinding signs, period. Does that sound okay, Mike?
I think so. It's hard without seeing it in writing.
Okay, do you want me to write it out?
I think that would be helpful.
Okay.
Both for the board and.
Sure.
Okay.
Give me just a second.
Did you have something you want to
Just
add?
one more thing. I think adding also that we just assume everybody uses GPS, and I think not everybody does. I can tell you, I know several people of varying ages who have flip phones still. So I think that's something to take in consideration, even if it's a small demographic of the population that's going to these facilities. I think giving them visual signage that guides them when they don't have a GPS system is very important for them to have that. So I'd say that would be part of the findings that would
Yeah.
validate.
Thank you. We'll just take a minute.
Okay, I think Ms. Passos is going to share, and then you guys have a look and see if you think that makes sense. I'll go ahead and read it out loud. Okay. So particularly related to the wayfinding signs for criteria number 3 for a development standards variance. Practical difficulty is found in the design of the property as a medical center, the existing topography and size, and the layout of the streets and parcels that create a number of dead ends. These peculiar characteristics combine to necessitate a variance from the sign requirements of the UDO in order to allow for 3 additional wayfinding signs for navigation of the site.
Great, thank you. Is that sufficient? Okay. So if there is no further comment from any of the board members, we are ready for a vote, and a vote yes is a approval of all 4 signs.
I would just like, because of the questions you asked, I would just like to raise, do you want to make it a condition of approval that the existing signs, wayfinding signs, be removed?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that would
think
be,
so. We'll add that
Mr.
as a
Coyne would
condition.
have to, yeah, or be okay with that.
Okay, so Eric, since
Yeah.
your motion, is that,
Yeah, you can amend the motion.
okay. So we'll add that as a
As condition number
of
2,
approval.
so that the existing wayfinding signs on the site need to be removed.
Okay,
Great, thank you.
okay. So we are now ready for a vote.
Burrell,
Yes.
Ballard,
Yes.
Coyne,
Yes.
Klepper.
Yes. The petition is approved. Thank you and good luck. Thank you. Okay. Okay. Our next petition is V-09-22, Patrick and Rachel McAleer. This is a continued case. And Mr. McAleer, I want to make you aware that typically when we only have, we have 4 board members, but one of our board members, Eric Coyne, was not here to hear the previous hearing, so he cannot vote on the case. So that leaves the 3 of us to vote. We want to give you the option to move forward tonight or to continue it further so that we could have at least 4 board members next month. It's really just a courtesy.
Excuse me, Mr. Meckley, would you mind going up to the...
Yes, if you could please step to the podium, and let me swear you in. Sure. Please state your name. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay. So that's typically something that we
Sure, that
allow
makes sense, and
petitioners.
I appreciate that.
Pardon?
No, I said that makes sense, and I appreciate that. And we need 3 to approve,
We need
correct?
3, so we can,
Okay.
yeah, we can vote with 3.
Okay, perfect. Well, I'd say we just go forward with voting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks. Okay, so we're going to now have kind of a synopsis of the case.
Yes, okay, so first I'm going to, for those who weren't here last month or those watching at home, this petition appeared last month. The department recommended denial. The Board of Zoning Appeals asked the department to prepare alternative findings for a possible approval. Recommendation, this is for a determinate sidewalk variance from sidewalk requirements at the property at 935 West 7th Street. So in the last month, we've done that. Those have been distributed to the board, and they were in the packet as well. They will be displayed tonight and discussed. So the hearing for this petition has been opened. That was opened last month. We took public comment at that time. We also took comment from the petitioner at that time. Those portions of the hearing are over. We are to the portion where the board discusses a motion and these findings, and then that's what's left to do tonight. And so as Ms. Clapper said, it will require a unanimous vote of the 3 of you. Mr. Coyne is here, but because he wasn't present last month, we would suggest that he not vote on this because he doesn't have the full record.
Would it be appropriate for you to go over?
Yes, Karina's going to give a short synopsis, and then we will go over the findings.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, yes. Okay, so the address is 935 West 7th Street. It's zoned R3, and it's mixed use, or mixed urban residential according to the comprehensive plan. It's a new single-family dwelling, detached, and to the north, there is the Banneker Community Center, and to the south, east, and west are single-family dwellings, detached. There is also a place of worship to the west. And so I think, as Jackie mentioned, this was a variance for determinate sidewalk from sidewalk requirements for new single-family development adjacent to existing pedestrian network in the R3 zoning district. And so the property has been developed with new construction, and it was approved through a CZC dated September 3rd, 2019. At the time of approval, this property was zoned residential core, and the UDO, as amended effective July 20th, 2018, states under the development standards that a concrete sidewalk with a minimum width of 5 feet is required in the RC zoning district. So this was the site plan that was approved with the CZC. And so I guess I'll just go over the alternate findings now. Yeah. Okay, so for the first part of the criteria, the allowance to not install a sidewalk in this location is not ideal because it limits improvement of the connectivity to the community center and possibly future connection to the south. However, it is believed that the Banneker Center often depends on on-street parking, and installing a sidewalk in this location would make on-street parking more difficult because of the small street right-of-way width. While both sidewalk extension and existing on-street parking provide benefit to the community, the board thinks that in this case, the existing on-street parking adds value to the community by providing public parking for the Banneker Community Center and possibly providing traffic calming benefits. For the second part of the criteria, the proposed finding is that the variance is expected to have off-site negative consequences in that it will continue the existing design that lacks a sidewalk connection to the existing sidewalk on the north side of the lot and the network north of 7th Street while also not improving the ramp at the corner. However, the board believes that installation of a sidewalk would increase the impervious surface in the public right-of-way along this block and may negatively impact stormwater drainage for the adjacent lot to the south of the property. And for the last part of the criteria, the proposed finding is a compliant sidewalk could be constructed on this site. The site will continue to be used as a single-family development even if the sidewalk is built. However, the petitioner submitted testimony that it is possible that the installation of a sidewalk and retaining wall may interfere with existing utilities that are allowed approximately 8 feet from the edge of pavement. Practical difficulty is found by the board in the combination of the limited right-of-way width and potential retention wall and its relationship to utility location. So this is the determinate sidewalk criteria, and just a quick summary, I guess. The board believes that uniformity of development of the area would best be served by deferring sidewalk construction on the lot or tract until some future date applies here, and that there is a practical difficulty presented by the narrowness of the street, although the installation of a sidewalk would not make the street narrower because there is approximately 8 feet of right-of-way from the edge of pavement where the sidewalk could potentially be installed. Additionally, the location of existing utilities may impede the construction of a retaining wall that would likely need to be in the ground, a depth that interferes with utilities. The board heard support of the variance from adjacent neighbors and members of the community and also considers historical context of the neighborhood, which lacks north-south sidewalk connections on other smaller streets, to be important considerations in favor of approval for this variance.
So this would be in order for you all to have a motion to approve the determinate sidewalk variance. So typically for a determinate sidewalk variance, we would also include a condition that a zoning commitment be recorded, that a determinate sidewalk variance has been issued, so that if sometime in the future the city were to do a sidewalk project here, the owner of the property at that time would be responsible for putting in the sidewalk. That's why it's a determinate sidewalk variance.
Okay, so I will entertain a motion from the board, and then we can have, and then a second, and then we can have discussion. And that's one of the three of us.
Sure. I motion to approve V-9, V-09-22 to approve the petition, correct? With the
alternate findings of fact.
with the alternate findings that we have, and also with the condition that the determinate sidewalk stays.
Yeah, with the condition that the petitioner will record a zoning commitment indicating that a determinate sidewalk variance has been issued for this property.
Okay, exactly what I said there.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Discussion.
Yes.
Yes. Do you want to start? No?
No, go ahead.
I have, I'd like to see, under the determinate sidewalk section, I'd like to add C. The board believes that C, the adjacent lot or tracts are at present developed without sidewalks, and there is no reasonable expectation of additional sidewalk connections on the block in the near future to be added before E, with the additional sentence at the end of the paragraph that says, the lots located to the south of this property have houses, or the lots to the south of this property have houses located within a few feet of the right-of-way, and due to their historic nature are unlikely to be removed in the future.
I'm going to recommend that we make reference to C as well as the sentence you just said at the end of number 3,
Okay.
because the determinate sidewalk criteria isn't actually a finding. It's just a list of things for you to kind of consider when you're doing the findings. But I think that's important, enough that we should list that in the actual findings. If that's okay with you, I'd recommend we'll append that to number 3 when we do the record.
Okay. Are you amenable to that?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so we will add that to finding number 3 of the
Yes,
peculiar
thank you.
condition. Okay. Anything further from the three of us before we vote? Okay. Can I please have a vote, please, Carmen?
Yes. Ballard.
Yes.
Clapper.
Yes.
Burrell.
Yes.
Okay, the variance is approved. Good luck. Okay, we are on to case V-12-22, the City of Bloomington Redevelopment Commission. Staff report, please.
Great, thank you. All right. Let's see here. V-12-22 is a variance request for the property located at 617 North Madison Street, also 422 West 10th Street. It runs north-south from Maker Way to 10th with Madison to the east. This is in the Showers Technology character area in the mixed-use downtown zoning district. You can see here roughly squared by that red square there. The comprehensive plan designation is downtown. It's currently vacant, and the proposed land use is office. So again, this is located in the Showers Technology area, southwest of the mill, if you're familiar with that location. The request tonight is a variance from maximum front building setback to allow for a plaza with this building design in the Showers Technology downtown character overlay. The building, as you can see here, the front building wall on the north side of the building is marked here with 2 red lines. The code requirement is that the front building wall be within 15 feet of the front property line that abuts the right-of-way. So the larger red line on the left meets the requirement, and then the shorter red line on the right does not. It is 63 feet back from the right-of-way. And then with the front building wall that faces Madison, the portion on the south end, the blue line on the south end meets the requirement, and then the blue line on the north end does not. So you can see that those two that do not kind of create a plaza here at the northeast corner of the parcel. The idea for the plaza, it does a few things. One is to reflect the historic interplay of this building and the outside space that is present at the mill, which is northeast of here, so kind of reflecting back for this plaza that was redone when the mill was redeveloped. Now we'll have a kind of a smaller version on the other side of the street. Additionally, this allows for on-site detention to take place underneath the plaza, so it functions both as a pedestrian facility as well as an area for detention to take place. As you saw in the initial aerial, the parcel is quite large now. The petitioners will be subdividing it off. Because they can do the detention underneath the plaza, they don't have to add a bunch of additional square footage to the lot that is otherwise not needed, and that can be used for green space or development on the parcel to the south once it's developed. So this has the same 3 criteria as all of our development standards variances, and for the reasons I've mentioned, we do think that the property is peculiar. It is in a historic area. This is located in a local historic district with the existing Showers Brothers buildings being designated, and so the petitioners have taken care to try to reflect some of those on-site designs that exist now, as well as allowing for on-site detention without creating more additional unusable space on the site. So based on the report and written findings of fact, the department recommends that the Board of Zoning Appeals adopt the proposed findings and approve V1222 with the condition that the variance is approved for the design that you saw submitted with the variance package. And I can answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Is the petitioner's representative here?
Yes, I believe we have 2 on Zoom.
Okay.
I don't know who's going to speak.
Hi, I'm Jane Cooper-Smith, Assistant Director for Small Business Development in the Department of Economic and Sustainable Development, and I'm supporting this project on behalf of the city. And then with, yes.
Do you swear to
Yes.
tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, you have up to 20 minutes to present your petition.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. And the next thing I was going to do was introduce our project manager, Ashley Thornberry from Axis Architecture in Indianapolis. And Ashley can speak to the details of the project.
Okay, great. Could you please state your name again? Ashley?
My name is Ashley Thornberry. I am the project manager of this project from Axis Architecture and Interiors.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, you guys have up to 20 minutes.
Okay, thank you. As Jackie mentioned, the reason we are seeking a variance for the setback is for the outdoor plaza, so that we can do a couple different things. One, have a connection back to the mill and also welcome others within the area to utilize this space. The second being underground detention for the site is required to be on site and cannot be underneath the building footprint. So this will be occupied under this outdoor plaza. And the third is that this also helps us reach our landscape openness minimum requirements. As Jackie mentioned, currently the lot is larger than what our specific use will be for. So we are in the process of subdividing that to maintain some of those other ordinances, zoning ordinances that are required. And so that is the reason we are seeking the variance again for this setback to allow the plaza to be part of the office design.
Okay. Thank you. We are to the board for questions of the petitioner and staff. Are there any questions?
Can you explain, and this is for staff, you said that the area will be used as a retention?
Sure, Ashley may be able
For
to speak to that better than
stormwater
I can,
retention.
but yes, there will be underground detention. So when we did when the city did the trades district, a lot of infrastructure is obviously already existing in the rights-of-way here, but detention for each site will happen on site that as part of City of Bloomington utility requirements. And in this case, Ashley, again, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that they will have an underground detention facility underneath this plaza.
Processing the stormwater.
Correct.
Jackie, that is correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Any other questions? Nope. Eric? Nope. Okay, then we are to the public. Does anybody here this evening want to speak to this petition? Seeing no one, we are back to the petitioners. Are there any further comments that you would like to make at this time?
No, thank you.
Okay.
Nope, not at this time.
Okay, thanks. Then we are back to the board for action. I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt the proposed findings and approve V-12-22. The following conditions that the variance is approved for the building setback design as submitted with this petition.
I second
I'll
it.
second.
Okay. And that is with the one condition of approval. Okay. Roll call, please.
Clapper,
Yes.
Coyne,
Yes.
Burrell,
Yes.
Ballard.
Yes.
Okay. The variance is approved and the petition is granted. Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I am now, let the record, do you want to say something? Okay, let the record reflect that I am going to recuse myself from this case, and Flavia Burrell will be handling the meeting.
I do think additionally, as we did with the McAleers, we would give the petitioner the option if they want to wait till next month to have 4 Board of Zoning Appeals members to hear, because there are only 3 tonight. Eric, I don't know who that is going to be. I'm talking to Eric Grulich, sorry, if you might know.
Is Dawn Gray not there in the audience or logged on?
Yes, she is.
Or
Is that not? Just a second. This is my fault. We will have to, because, I'm sorry. Okay, so under the new hybrid rules, we have to have 3 members present. Because our 4th member wasn't able to make it the last minute, we cannot hear the petition this month. We will have to hear it next month, and if we have 3 members present at that time, not counting President Clapper. That is my fault. I forgot to tell legal that she was going to have to recuse herself on this one.
At least 3 members participating in person. Since Ryan's participating, since you have 1 member participating
Yeah,
remotely,
since Eric's
you can't do it.
virtual and
Excuse me,
Mr.
Eric,
Throckmorton
yes.
wasn't able to show up, we will have to automatically continue this petition to next month. Okay, so we are, Ms. Clapper will join us again in a second, and then we'll hear the 5th petition. Sorry about that, guys.
Okay, let the record reflect that Barry Clapper has rejoined the board.
Thank you, Ms. Clapper.
Okay, so we are on to case V-16-22, Aspen Heights Partners. Staff report, please.
Yes, thank you. So this is a request for Aspen Heights Partners for a property at 703 West Gorley Pike. The petitioners are here tonight to request a variance from riparian buffer standards in order to allow for a driveway to connect through the site and connect out to Kinzer. So this is for the Aspen Heights development. It is on the northwest side of town, on the west side of Kinzer, kind of south of Gorley. It's zoned mixed-use student housing and received a site plan approval from the Plan Commission in order to redevelop the site from the existing apartments that are there now with a new multifamily development. So that site plan, as you can see here, featured one driveway that moved through the site from Gorley Pike on the north side, connected through the site, and then connected also to Kinzer on the east side of the property. As you can kind of see on the aerial here, there is a stream that moves along the south portion of the property and then goes north and moves under an existing driveway and then further to the northeast. With the site plan approval, they are required to come into full compliance with the zoning code, and the Unified Development Ordinance does not allow for a driveway, a private driveway in the riparian buffer. So because the creek crosses the property at almost a 45-degree angle here, there is literally no way to connect through this site to Kinzer Pike. The through connection here was something that certainly emergency services needs, and also Bloomington Transit will have a bus stop along this private drive just before Kinzer in approximately the same location as the existing one. So Bloomington Transit needs to be able to move through the site as well. And so this driveway connection was something that was desired and shown, but however, it does need a variance from the riparian buffer standards in order for the driveway to move through here. So the location of the proposed drive is essentially very similar or exact same location as the existing one. So there's no additional disturbance that is required within this area. And the creek is already moving through here in a culvert. So there was no work that actually has to be done to the actual stream bed in this area, and only minor grading for the new driveway. So the amount of disturbance is very limited with the driveway that's proposed. So as I mentioned here, the location of the creek and the riparian buffer that moves through here along the east side of the site does not give any allowance for a driveway to move through here, as it has to cross the creek in order to connect to Kinzer. So that is certainly a practical difficulty and a peculiar condition with the property. And the department is recommending that the Board of Zoning Appeals adopt the proposed findings and approve this variance 16-22 with the one condition that's listed in staff's report. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Eric. Okay, we are to the board for questions of staff or petition. Oh, sorry. I'm all out of order tonight. Could you please step to the podium, and if the petitioner's representative could please state their name? Yes. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. Okay, you have up to 20 minutes.
Design Group, sorry. Yes, and Eric gave a great presentation. I just wanted to specifically refer to the condition of approval. And can you go back to is it Eric controlling? Eric, can you go to where the red is showing on the exhibit? Yes, so you can see the drive here is kind of awkwardly curving back into the road. And what we are attempting to do is acquire some additional property south of the existing property line. There's a deed gap there, and what we have worked out with the neighbor to the south that I think is pretty close to becoming official is they're going to acquire some additional property to put the 10-foot buffer yard inside that you see there. And once they do that, they're going to be straightening out that driveway. That's the idea. Now, with that condition of approval, though, we would have to come back to you to again request the drive be placed in the riparian buffer. So we're happy to do that, but if you'd like to strike that condition or reword it in a way that allows for staff approval, then we wouldn't have to come back. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Okay, so we are to the board now for questions.
Would that be agreeable with staff if they come back to get staff approval if they change the specs on the current?
What we would rather do, I think, is just modify that condition of approval to give a little bit more latitude so that it's not a situation of they have to come back to the BZA for anything should something change with a little bit of deviation. So let me work on that, and I'll have something here in just a minute.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? No? Eric, any questions? Nope. Okay, then we are to the public for anyone who would like to speak to this petition. There does not appear to be anybody here who would like to speak to the petition, so that we are now back to the board for action. And we'll just wait for Eric to let us know when he's ready for that new condition of approval. Oh, you can.
So what I have done is basically just took out the cross section and add the approximate location. That gives a little bit more latitude with staff, and we obviously know that we're working in the already disturbed area. So, the boundaries of what can be disturbed is pretty much limited to what's on the site now. So hopefully this gives a little bit more latitude if things need to be adjusted slightly.
So Eric, just so I can understand, the reason that the condition of approval is there at all is because you want it roughly to be what's proposed?
Yes, if they were to come through and, they needed to move it 20 feet to the north and disturb more, that would not be similar or approximate to what they're showing now. Okay. So, we try to have these conditions in there to lock in, exactly the site plan that's shown so that, in the future, if something needs to move, it's very clear that the approval was specifically for what was shown, and anything new, will need to come back. But this gives a little bit more latitude in that regard.
If I may, I think you should take out or placement if we're going to allow for the place to be different in the second sentence, right? Just to be clear that we're going to if they need to move it, slightly, that they can still do that. If that's where we're going, yeah.
I guess I would feel more comfortable if it were to go to staff level review, if there's any change. Just because I think roughly is just, it's too open. I don't feel like it's, if so, any change to the.
I think you could say, well, Mike, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we can say that we can recommend that you approve the variance with the condition that the board is approving a variance for a driveway along this portion of the parcel, anywhere within the bounds of that leg. Or Eric, you can show it, but I mean, it's like a definite, can you show that parcel, or Eric, and we can try to.
This area of the site, and that the specific location and cross-section will be verified by.
Sure. So yes, so that the Board of Zoning Appeals is approving a variance to the riparian buffer requirements to allow for a road in the location shown, in the buffer location shown at the petition, but that the exact location of the road will be determined by staff and the petitioner. Does that sound?
I think that I feel good about that.
Yeah, I don't see any problem.
Okay.
Okay. Pardon?
Would you just need to find a way to put it into words?
Sure.
Sure. Okay. So that would be
So Eric, how about this? This variance is to allow for a driveway to encroach in the riparian buffer shown with the petition, the exact location of the road to be determined between petitioner and staff. Because the issue is, you're not citing the road, you're just saying this portion of buffer can have a road in it. So I think we need to reference that. Yeah, I think that's okay.
It sounds likely that it will change a little.
Does this look okay? So
The variance is to allow for a driveway to encroach in the riparian buffer. The approximate location as submitted, the exact location of the road will be determined. Exact location, is cross-section important? The location and cross-section?
Yeah, I think we could say the exact location and cross-section of the road will be determined by staff. I think that's fine.
Great. So we are amending the motion to reflect the new wording of this condition of approval. Who made the motion? Are you amenable? Who made the motion? Did somebody make a motion? No. Okay. So would somebody like to make a motion? Sure. Okay. I thought we made a motion already. I will entertain a motion.
I make a motion to adopt the proposed findings and approve V-16-22 with the following condition. This variance is to allow for a driveway to encroach into a riparian buffer to the approximate location as submitted. The exact location and cross-section of the road will be determined by staff.
Did I come, I want to go back to the petitioner, though, and make sure
Yes.
that this is agreeable to them. And I don't know if I asked if the petitioner had the opportunity to speak, right? I did that.
I don't know. I don't think we went back to petitioner.
Okay. So I'd like to go back to I'm going to put this on hold,
It's
and
on
I want to
hold.
go back to the petitioner to see if you have any additional comments, and if you'd like to comment on the new wording, this new proposed wording of the condition of approval.
Yes, thank you. I think we were just wondering if we could word it only if it changes, we have to go to staff for approval. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, it does, but since you haven't had it, since you have, I don't remember exactly where you are in the grading permit process. So for example, if engineering says this makes more sense to be moved a foot north, I do want them to still be able to tell you that, because they're the experts, not us or the Board of Zoning Appeals. So our recommendation would be to leave it as this. We don't have any, Eric can correct me if I'm wrong, we don't have any, I don't think we're going to be, we have already reviewed this location. Eric, you can chime in, please. So I think this location is fine with us.
The location more or less is correct. It has to be 100 feet from adjacent drives, which gives it a very, it can't go any further north, which is why they're curving it to the south in order to meet that. So where it intersects the road will more or less be where it is, but there'll be a little bit of shift, it sounds like, as a result of cleaning up this deed gap for the road itself. But the drive cut will more or less be where it is. And as Jackie mentioned, we're pretty through the grading permit review. So this is just kind of a last minute detail.
I do have a hand raised in Zoom of a person representing the petitioner as well. So I didn't know if you wanted to let him, they have plenty of time, if that's okay. Okay. Mr. Helfrich?
Yes, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, could you please state your name?
David Helfrich. I am President, Aspen Heights Development.
Great. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. if you would like to add further comments to the petitioner at this.
Yeah, it's more of a discussion because I want to be clear. I do not obviously have the convenience, the opportunity to be there in person and to consult with our consultant on this. I think what we want to be sure, and maybe this is where we were trying to ascertain, is that we'll be able to proceed by picking up. Obviously, this has delayed our project. It's a student housing project, and our ability to pick up this permit, the grading permit, is important. So as soon as this variance is approved, we want to be sure the way it's worded does not impede us from picking up our permit and starting construction. If we do make a change revision, right, to the road based upon the deed gap going forward, we're certainly amenable to come back to staff and identify that location and any change and get their approval. But I'm not sure if this language impacts us or not, Kendall. And that's what I just want to be sure, or Eric, that impedes our ability to pick up our permit as is once we get this variance. Does that make sense?
Yes, I think we understand your question. Do you want to respond to that, please?
I mean, yeah, go ahead.
Is that the end of public comment?
It's not public comment, it's just petitioner.
No, that was
second.
from the petitioner's representative. Another.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Yes, so no, this is not going to impact the ability to pick up the grading permit once it's approved. In fact, this gives us more latitude should things change at the last second here to ensure that gets done faster.
Okay, but we don't anticipate changing this road because the deed gap will take some time, right, for us to obtain. So the goal would be to leave the road as is, right, pick up our permit and start work on the rest of the site. As we get to this part of the site, certainly we'll have to have it approved and come back to staff once we get the deed gap adjudicated with our neighbor, if that makes sense.
So Eric?
Yes, that makes sense. So we are just going like way out of bounds of what the variance is. We're talking about like grading permits and like moving lot lines and all these things. That's not for your purview.
Okay.
So I think I understand the petitioner's concern, is this language a little too wide? We don't have any desire to move the road, but we do ultimately, if we're not going to come back here and they want to move the location, then we do need to be able to be the ones to say like yes or no on that. So we would recommend this language.
Okay. So that sounds good then. Okay. So
I made the motion.
you made the motion. We have a second. Do we have a second?
A second.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Okay, then we are ready for a vote.
Yes.
Clever,
Yes.
Ballard,
Yes.
Burrell.
Yes.
Okay, the petition has been granted. Good luck. And that concludes our meeting for this evening. Thank you.